Welcome back to the Mountain Morning Show. I'm very happy to have Allison Page and Megan Perry here from Trail Talk. And I say about this show all the time that it's basically just therapy for me because I get to tell you all my things that I'm dealing with. Well, apparently it's for real today. So we're really going to do a little therapy. Welcome both of you to the show. Now, typically you guys would be out walking to do this, and I probably would feel more comfortable with that too. And that's the truth for most people, right?
Yeah. I mean, being outside, our main therapeutic tool is nature. And so it doesn't replace exercise. We're walking side by side, but it allows people intermittent eye contact, and it just feels a little bit more normal. You know, like you may say, I just want to ask a professional a question. It's a big question, but one that you've been afraid to go into a therapy office. There's so much stigma around accessing emotional care, especially for men. It's a sign of weakness. It's, maybe my wife's right and I am crazy. There's some fear around it. So if you can meet outside, why not start there?
Well, somebody said, and I don't know who, but it was really smart to say this, that the real, the fearless people are the ones who face their problems, the ones who actually do go and get therapy, the ones who do, face their fears, so to speak, head on. There's a lot of courage in that.
Yeah, there is.
Nobility, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and it's kind of twisted from our parents' generation where, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, and anything from the head up was all self-will.
I believed all that.
The brain wasn't an organ. Our brain's an organ, and we're addressing it in other terms as far as we're all into dealing with Alzheimer's and taking medication for this and that, but when it comes to depression, anxiety, fear, oh no, that's a different part of the head.
And it's hard for people to wrap their head around the idea that that when we talk about some of these issues, that they are chemically based. Sometimes there are things that are injuries or life events, things. There's more to it. We do have to look at it as an illness sometimes, don't we?
Yeah, I'm trying to switch the paradigm away
Talk to me about where we're headed.
Well, I think that what's happening is we're starting to realize that the brain is an organ, but we're also learning a lot about our gut and our intestinal health and how our intestinal inflammation can lead to brain inflammation. So I'm thinking in the next 10 years the doors are going to be opened up as far as what is causing some of these chemical or neurochemical issues. But even the way we think really creates neural pathways in our brain. So if we have a pattern of thinking, it's like sitting down a railroad track and we're just paving that track. And so the thing with therapy, and it's starting to say, is meds are not the answer.
They're not.
It's really meds and therapy. Some people need meds, some don't. But therapy is we really need to address this. We got to get to the core root of the problem.
Because that's sort of how it happened in the first place. We talked ourselves into some of these things.
It's a thought pattern. And so the idea, and what Megan and I do a lot of, is there's something called basic CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy. That's kind of part of it. The other part, that's learning self-regulating skills, which is that stop thing I was telling you about. And really understanding, okay, how I think affects how I feel and how I behave. And that's one part of it, learning how to self-regulate. But then the other part is, okay, so let's do that root canal. We're going to do some anesthetizing of that tooth, but now we got to really look at the root cause. What are the messages from your past that inform your current present situation? And like you mentioned, in your family situation, a past event has really triggered some issues in relationships in her current life.
Right now, our past events are our current events.
I know,
again,
right.
Which is a little odd. I don't think anybody's prepared for that necessarily, especially somebody who's with them through that. Yeah,
and getting to our topic of teens and grief, what's really interesting is as parents, we learn all about, okay, when do we give the sex talk? Okay, the sex talk, how do we do that and what age do we say what? We aren't taught how to deal with grief and suicide and how to talk to our kids about mourning. And or even how to do it ourselves. And so if you have a family that's impacted or affected by suicide in any way, in many different layers of involvement, the parents are grieving and they need to have the emotional availability to help the teen grieve or their child. So it's very complicated.
And it gets scary if we don't get to the work of talking about these things.
Right, that's absolutely it.
We saw, some sympathetic issues that happened this last week where some people felt like they, maybe I need to die too. which,
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, really?
Yeah.
It is hard to imagine that is part of the thought process, but it certainly was, there's no doubt.
Yeah.
So these are the kinds of things that, as you said, we've got to talk about now, right now. So talk to a parent like that. I mean, I've got a 12-year-old who thinks she's 16, and it's scary, and it's hard to talk, and it's hard to. I know she's upset, but I have no idea what. And if I ask what, I'm really just adding fuel to the fire. It seems, because I should know, right? I'm dad.
You're a mind reader.
You're supposed to know.
Yeah.
So, what do I do in that situation?
That's a thought error. That's a really good. So she's developing a thought error that she thinks that you should know what she's thinking, and then don't ask her and just fix it, or don't talk about it.
Yeah.
Because if I talk about it, it's going to get worse. And so, like we were saying before, some kids at that age learn how to emote. They're very dramatic, and they stop thinking. And the idea is to really teach them and model for them thinking and feeling at the same time. So in her case, she's very emotional. She just doesn't know how to problem solve looking at it. And so this is where you would come in as a dad and mom to role model. Okay, so this is hard. These strong emotions. It's normal to have strong emotions. We got to have them. God gave us a whole set of emotions to inform us about life. Action. I mean, anger brings us to action and can protect us. Fear can inform us, to be safe. So there's reasons why we have these emotions, and they're not to be afraid of, but they feel like we're being chased by a tiger, but it's a perceived threat. In our mind, we're creating this threat, that we're being threatened.
Well, we're wired for this.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
I mean, that is that you've kind of, you're kind of hitting on the ones that we fight or flight, right? And that's
absolutely.
what we're wired for, right? And if we don't do some of those things, I guess, if we don't actually physically run, we're running inside.
Right. Yes, a great analogy. So it's fight, flight, or freeze. And so some people just get paralyzed, and they just don't know what to do. And they don't move, and they wait for life to happen to them. And something will happen. Life happens, and it moves on. But there's no involvement about how I'm dealing with it.
Interesting.
Flight is going to be the avoidant. I'm going to my room. Not going to talk about it. You got the teen that's like, I'm going to go incognito. If I'm not seen, then I'm not going to get involved. And then you got the fighter, who's like right in the middle. And sometimes the fighter might be a peacekeeper. I'm going to make everything all better. So we kind of all play different roles in our family.
And those roles shift depending on who we're talking to. They shift,
and they serve us at one point in our life. But what happens later in life when you join another family and you marry someone with their own set of baggage or family of origin baggage, man, those ways of relationship patterns don't seem to work anymore. And so it's really learning how to recognize. First, you have to recognize them. And I think that's what we were talking about earlier, is that you're recognizing this heavy burden of past family history that you got to deal with in the present. At the same time, you got to live life. So you're going to be like, okay, well, that's enough. I got to go to work, and you got to run a meeting.
Right.
So you leave your house and you have this heavy emotional discussion, and it's like, okay, time to self-regulate.
You have to, shut it off for a minute. Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It is crazy.
The more I think of it, I'm like, wow, that's a lot to think about. Megan, bring me down a little bit, Megan.
I'm sorry.
Let's self-regulate.
Bring me down.
Yes.
Because I'm starting to feel the weight of it all.
I started the root canal before I gave you enough anesthesia.
I know, right?
That's what this is from.
So this is STOP. So tell me what this is.
So this is a self-regulation tool. So it's one thing that we use with clients to help them learn how to control those really strong, heavy emotions. And if you want, you can just look at it right on here. The steps are outlined very clearly. Do you want to? We're
going to get a close-up of this one here real quick. And you can talk about it.
Sure.
So this first one.
The first part is to stop. Yep. Take a deep breath, breathe from your diaphragm, and that will really help relax your physical body. And then you want to pull back and you want to get the big picture. A lot of times we get stuck in the little picture and just focused on one detail. So this will help you to be a little more rational, get out of that emotional brain and back into your rational brain. Pull back, zoom out and see the bigger picture, and ask yourself if you have all the information.
Yeah, do you have all the facts? And that's
Yes.
a big one.
Right.
Yeah,
That's
do
probably-
you have all the facts? And most of the time you don't. You get a cell, and sorry to interrupt,
you're
but you
fine.
get a text, call me ASAP, and there's, oh my God, what did I do wrong? We assume that
We
it's all
are
about
always
us.
assuming the worst, aren't we?
You know, instead it's like, okay, mellow out for a second. Do I have all the facts? No, maybe someone needs me to pick them up at the airport. You know, they had an emergency. Their mother. It's not about me at all. So you just kind of take down the emotional valence and say, okay, do I have all the facts? That's a big one, don't you think?
Yeah, that's probably the highlight here, that and the
Yeah.
breathing.
Yeah, yeah.
So what's next?
So that's essentially it. It just helps you get out of your emotional mind and really think about the situation instead of
okay,
just
so yeah, we got
reacting
through
to
all
it.
Observe is really what's going on in my body, because all of us, where do you feel anxiety or fear? Where does it show up? Is it your stomach, your chest?
Oh, I get it right there.
Me
in the
too.
stomach.
I get
Yeah.
I get
Someone says they need you to
butterflies.
come into my office. I'm like, oh,
I know.
what now?
I know.
Right? That's
Yeah.
exactly what I feel.
Yeah, yeah. And that's when you could say, okay, stop for a second, take some breaths. Okay, what am I thinking about? Yeah, I think I'm going to be on the hot seat again, you know. That's what I always assume. Okay, you know, notice it. Well, okay, I notice it's in my body. Okay, now pull back, just like a camera. Pull back. What's the panoramic view here? One, no, I don't have all the facts. I could be getting a raise. So why am I always going to the negative train track?
Yeah,
Thought
exactly.
track, right?
The other thing that you're hitting on here that we need to talk about, I think we only have a minute left, so I just want to say this, is that we need to be able to talk to ourselves, don't we?
We do.
Actually speak to
do.
ourselves.
And how we talk to ourselves is what we believe. It's our story. So if I'm constantly saying, oh, you're a piece of crap, oh my gosh, you're a loser, I will be a loser because I'm stuck in that story.
Wow.
That's a whole nother therapy session.
All right, so quickly, we only have another minute left. We're going to bring you guys back because there's so much to talk about clearly, and we do need to talk more. For sure. So for Trail Talk and this therapy work in one go, we know here in Park City with you, right? And then also,
Down in Provo and the Heber Valley for me.
awesome. So you're hitting both of those areas as
Yes.
well.
Yeah.
But you guys will go a little further afield, I'm told. Is
Oh
that
yeah,
right?
we have a lot of Salt Lake City clients. We'll meet them
Excellent.
in Salt Lake. We meet them halfway. A lot of Salt Lake clients want to come to Park City, especially during the inversion.
Right, that makes the most sense. Yeah, come
Yeah.
up here and go
Yeah.
out and talk, walk
Yeah.
and talk a little
Yeah.
bit.
Yeah.
Well, and stop. That's the first thing, right?
Yes.
You need
Stop
to
and
stop
think.
and recognize you need to talk.
Yes.
Start doing it. Talk with yourself. Talk with a therapist. That's what you need to do. I gotta say, honestly, the more I delve in, it's a deep dive. You realize that it
Yeah.
is a little bit sometimes of an abyss. But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, if you don't do anything, that hole
Yeah.
just gets bigger.
Yeah.
And deeper.
Yeah, you keep doing the same thing, you're going to get the same results.
Yeah,
Right?
you used earlier the tooth analogy.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that cavity's just going to grow.
Yeah, that's right.
All right.
Yeah.
Ladies, thanks so
Great.
muan for being here. It's so
Great.
important
Thank you
that we're
for having
talking
us.
right now. It is awesome. Trail Talk, a great way to get out there and learn a little bit more about yourself. The website is?
www.trailtalkpc.com. PC is in Park City, all one word. Trailtalkpc.com.
All right. Well, thank you so very much for being here. Thank you for joining us for
Thank
this
you.
first hour of the Mountain Morning Show. More coming up after these messages right here on Park City Television.